I'll start with a question. Could creating joy in work be the only way to save the NHS? Every night before bed, I ask my daughter, Maddie, to clear away all her clothes from her bed and her chair and her floor. A familiar picture? Her approach to this is to sweep everything, clean or dirty, into the wash basket. I find this incredibly frustrating. So one night, in desperation, I said, Maddie, if you just spent 15 seconds putting those clean socks I've just brought from downstairs in your drawer, that pair of jeans you've worn for 20 minutes on a hanger in your wardrobe, you'd save your dad and I half an hour a week in time spent doing washing. And that's time we could be spending together, having fun. A little light went on in the back of my head. This scenario, or something similar, is going on in organisations up and down the country. People are completing a task in a very efficient and effective manner, but the way they're doing it, without them meaning to, is causing a lot of work and frustration for someone else. What if we could show that if you do something a little differently, you could make someone else's day a whole lot easier? Dan, I think I've found us on your improvement project.
I'm all ears. Tell me more.
This needn't be a one-off. If someone here is doing something a little differently to make this person's day easier, then this person's got a bit of time and space to make this person's day easier, and so on. Suddenly what we've got is a benevolent cycle where someone, somewhere in your team or organisation is doing something to reduce frustration. How much joy in work would that bring? I'm Rachel Pilling.
And I'm Dan Wadsworth. And together, in partnership with Bradford Hospitals, we co-founded our social movement, 15 Seconds, 30 Minutes. So what is it? Well, 15 Seconds, 30 Minutes is a free social movement which encourages anybody to spend 15 seconds on a task now to save somebody else 30 minutes later on, reducing frustration and increasing joy in work. We call these 15-second tasks missions. Anybody can launch a mission. There's no training, knowledge, or big investment needed. It's the power of its simplicity that's the key. A small action here has a huge knock-on effect elsewhere. But why bother? Because if you just spent more time on your tasks, you'd save me loads more time, right? Wrong. That's not going to create much joy in work. In fact, it's probably going to increase frustrations. It's what can I do to help you? A key element of our social movement is reconnecting staff to why they work in healthcare. What makes you feel proud? What matters to you? And what does a good day look like? We all have a natural inner drive to do good. So by focusing this into the workplace, that's where we start to feel the joy.
But really, is this anything more than a nice idea? Well, we don't say it out loud very often, but 15 seconds, 30 minutes is quality improvement. There are three main aspects to quality improvement. There's patient safety, doing it right, cost effectiveness, doing it well, and joy in work, doing it with a smile. Joy in work has been shown to be the single biggest factor in improving patient safety and experience. Quite simply, happier staff provide better care. Joy in work is emerging from the shadows and not before time. In 1931, Edward Deming, the grandfather of quality improvement, said, "We should create a system in which anyone may take joy in their work." But in an environment where 9% of doctors are experiencing clinical burnout, where 1 in 4 nurses have considered leaving the profession, isn't this an impossible dream? How do we move from the situation where staff arrive at work wondering, how do I survive today, to a position where they're inspired, knowing I can thrive today?
Doing good creates happiness. Simply by helping someone else, you'll be helping yourself experience joy in work. And that's how we move from surviving to thriving. On top of the day job, which is already stressful, the last thing people working in the NHS need is going to the printer to find there's no paper left. Or getting that one cup of tea of the day and realising there's no teaspoons or clean cups again. Or not being able to contact a patient because no phone number's been recorded in the system. And even more seriously, not recording a patient's allergy. The effects of not spending 15 seconds reducing these frustrations can be catastrophic. And the NHS is a very tough environment to work in. The last thing is all the additional extras which we need, like target settings, financial pressures. It's no secret that a lot needs fixing, and it's a big change requirement. So why not start making small changes? Say 15 seconds small. After all, it's lots of small changes that are done together which makes the biggest difference. Let's share with you some of our favourite 15-second missions from our followers. This is Richard. Richard is a paramedic and he works in the Yorkshire Ambulance Service, and he heard about us via Twitter. The name of Richard's mission is Wear Your Glasses. Richard's mission was born out of patient frustrations, where patients were being transported in an ambulance to hospital without being asked if they wore glasses or had them to hand. So his mission was simply to ask the question, where are your glasses? Now, that sounds like a nice question to ask, but would it really save 30 minutes or more? Yes, absolutely, for the patient. And as fellow glasses wearers, this one really hit home with us. Can you imagine the positive impact this would have if it was you? You'd be able to see the clinicians, read their name badges. You could read a book, read a menu. You could read your medication box. You'd feel more confident about getting out of bed because you can see your surroundings, perhaps less of a falls risk. And you'd be able to see the right signs and make sure you got to the right toilet. The thing is, the patient will never know the frustrations they have been saved. But their experience is already off to a great start. And Richard feels like he's done a good deed. He experiences joy in work because he did this for his patients. Richard was a small cog whose mission had a positive impact on the bigger cog, the patient.
This is Carol. She arrived to start her shift eye clinic reception one day to find the corridors in darkness, the shutters to the clinic reception stuck down, there'd been a power cut. Carol's first thought was, today is going to be a nightmare. But then she thought back to the 15 seconds, 30-minute workshop and thought, I wonder how I could reduce some frustration. So Carol's mission, quite simply, was to stand at the entrance of the eye clinic with a pen and piece of paper, and she wrote down the name and date of birth of patients as they arrived, and passed it behind the shutter where there was one computer working, so the patient could be checked in and moved round to the clinical area. So what were the knock-on impacts of Carol's mission? Well, firstly, she was able to reassure patients that clinic was open, not to worry, rather than them turning around and going home. That saved frustration for them, their carers, but also the admin team, who would otherwise have had to rebook all those appointments. Eye clinic's really busy, and 25 patients arrive every 15 minutes at the start of the day. Carol knew if she did nothing, by the time the power went up, there'd be a huge backlog of people. So she managed to reduce the frustration of a big queue. Because the patients were in the clinical area ready, when the power did go up, clinic could start. That meant that the morning clinic finished sort of on time. I meant the afternoon clinic could start on time. So the knock-on effect was actually felt by hundreds of patients and staff that day. But the biggest impact was felt by Carol and her team. What should have been the most frustrating day of the year turned out to be one of the best. They knew what they could do. They sensed the difference that they could make. They could feel how much frustration they were saving. And that is what brings true joy in work.
But what is it that makes a good 15-second mission? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. Sometimes people misunderstand the simplicity of 15 seconds, 30 minutes, and they overcomplicate what they need to do. They think of exciting things they want to change, but these are often mammoth tasks. We need to rewrite this policy. We need to redesign this patient pathway. We need to make NHS car parking free. All things, you could argue, are absolutely necessary, but they're certainly not something you could do in 15 seconds. Let's look at what Richard and Carol did in a little more detail. Neither of them set up a governance arrangement with action plans and risk assessments. There was certainly no standard operating procedure. What they both did was follow our simple guidance. TARDIS. I'll explain. Both of their missions were something they could do today. Don't wait for action. Give it a go now. It was something that only took a little time, 15 seconds. It reduced frustration for them, for their colleagues, for their patients. They didn't need permission. This is empowerment of staff doing the do. And it increased joy in work. Well, that's our ultimate purpose in life. And it was shareable. It was something they could easily share with their colleagues and be part of our social movement. Staff doing the do, our porters, cleaners, nurses, doctors, receptionists, AHPs, in fact, any health and social care professional sees 100% of the frustrations, 100% of the time. So 15 seconds, 30 minutes, it's a foundation. It's a platform for you to safely stand on and launch your mission. It's certainly not a change program, something done to you. It's fundamentally quality improvement for people who maybe don't know what quality improvement is about, or they're maybe scared off by the jargon and methodologies that come with it. We're aiming to light a fire in you, not under you. So could you find a little bit of time in?
Just hold it there a minute, Dan. You're about to ask this group of hard-working, overstretched, under-resourced staff to do more?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but only 15 seconds more. How long is 15 seconds? Well, we invite you to take our 15-second challenge. In a mo, we're going to ask you to raise your hand in the air. When we say go, count in your head how long you think 15 seconds is. When you think it's up, drop your hand back down again. No cheating, no stopwatches or clocks, though, please. So, hands in the air. Are we ready? 3, 2, 1, go. While they're busy, Dan, what could you do in 15 seconds?
Ooh, I could speak 30 words and help a lost patient or visitor.
I reckon I could tell reception I've added an extra patient so they know to expect them and where to send them.
I could turn on all the computers if I was first in the office.
Oh, well, that's your 15 seconds up. How did that feel? Not so bad?
So how do we know that it's working? Well, this is our map of joy. This shows all the places that are currently live with 15 seconds, 30 minutes. And the list is growing every day. The best thing is we haven't met most of these people. I can't tell you how much joy it brings Rachel and I when we receive that email that says, "We found you and we've launched in our organisation." Or who send us a picture of their 15-second mission live on Twitter. Or perhaps they visited our website and read our blogs and our YouTube clips and then felt empowered and inspired to launch. Well, our time is nearly up, but we just wanted to say, it's not actually our social movement. It's for you. It's our gift to the NHS, and it's free and ready and waiting for you. So what could you spend 15 seconds doing that's going to save somebody else 30 minutes later on? Reducing frustration, increasing joy in work. Remember, nothing changes if you change nothing.
So I'll ask my question again. If creating joy in work is the only way to save the NHS, are you with us? Well done.